In this video, I want to show you my best performing Facebook ad, which on its own could never survive. Now, I probably need to explain that a little bit. What I mean with that is that this particular ad only works as a retargeting ad in my experience. And in case you're not really sure what retargeting is or how to actually set it up and who to target best, don't worry, we'll get into that in a later section throughout this course. So for now, I really want to focus on the actual advertisement itself. So the purpose of this ad is really only to show social proof, because social proof is one of the most important factors that people take into account when making a purchase decision. So if someone sees a certain product or service and they already know that a lot of other people are using it and they're happy with it and they're getting the results that they want, they're going to be way more inclined to actually make a purchase versus whether they are thinking that if they're thinking that they're the only one, the first one to actually purchase, right? So social proof is very important. So in this particular ad, it's all about providing social proof. It's all about showing that, you know, your product actually does what you promise, or that the people are happy with it, your customers are happy with the product or service, and that's really all it's about. And as I will show you in another section later on in this course, this is mostly beneficial for the audience that has already seen your product, your sales page, or maybe even attempted to purchase it. Maybe they've added it to the checkout but never really purchased. So in this video, so in that case, like, they already know the benefits, they already know the product, they're just on the fence, they just haven't decided yet. And those people, that's where you want to show your social proof ad to, which once again later on I'll show you exactly how to do that. So here you'll see my best performing Facebook ad, and as you'll see, there's actually multiple images, but it's all the same ad. I just took multiple screenshots to show what happens. So basically this is an example of an ad, and this top text I sometimes do show differentiate. So sometimes I have a different text, but what I always have in this is that, as you can see, it's actually a carousel ad. So that means instead of having one image or one video, it actually has multiple. So every single one of them is rectangular, as you can see right here. Sorry, it's a square, as you can see right here. And people can actually click here, and if they click there, they go to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one. And what's cool here, and that's the interesting part, is this one is actually super easy to create, but like I said, it's my best performing one. So all I'm basically doing is having a face of one of my customers, and then having their testimonial here at the bottom. And it's incredibly effective. So I'm going to show you, because once again, it's super easy to set up. So how do you actually create it? Well, first step is obviously to ask your customer for the testimonial and ask their permission if you are allowed to use it. Now, a good way of actually asking for a testimonial in general, not just for this particular ad, but in case you want to have a testimonial, is not to ask about a testimonial. What you should ask instead is, hey, how would you recommend us to a friend? Like, because you basically, if they say like, yeah, I like it, that's not really useful. If you have a testimonial, say like, James said I like it, it's not very good. But if you ask the question, hey James, how would you convince a friend? Like, how would you recommend us to a friend? Like, what would you say? And then they really try to do their best to, you know, communicate why it's so great and why it's awesome. So ask for a testimonial and ask their permission. Also make sure to ask for an image of their face, because then we're going to create a carousel ad. And later on in this very module, I'm going to show you inside of the actual Facebook Ads Manager how to set the ads actual up. Like, I'm showing you exactly where to go, whatnot. So don't worry, we'll get into that. For now, this is just more or less as a step-by-step plan. So step 2, create a carousel ad. So while you're setting up an ad, which I'm going to show you later, you can choose to go for the ad with multiple images or videos in a carousel. And that way, you're going to make sure that you're going to create an ad like this with multiple squares in one ad. Number 3, have a relatively simple text. So at the very top, as you can see right here, that's the top text. And we just have something like, thanks for checking out XYZ, your product, for example. Below you'll see what some of our customers are saying about us. Go to, and then for example, the URL, go to blah, blah, blah.com. Now to become one of them as well, just as an example. And the purpose of this text and why I keep this so simple is because I don't want it to be salesy. I want it to be sort of casual, where it's more or less, hey, just have a look what our customers are doing, and I want the results to speak for themselves instead of being overly salesy. Now, it could be that being overly salesy would even work even better, but it's also a bit of a branding thing that I'd like to be more casual, and I've had the feeling that it's more powerful if we do it like this. And actually the results back this up as well, because it's once again our best converting retargeting ad. So have a really relatively simple text, and then for each of the images, you can upload a different image, and then only upload their face as the image. So for the first one, upload the first image, second one, second image. And then for the actual headline that you have to write, that's where the actual testimonial goes. And what I would do is actually put it in between brackets, as you can see right here, in between quotes, so that it's obviously that it's actually a quote, and also to keep it very short. And what's important is that the most important part of the actual testimonial should go first, because on a mobile device it doesn't show as much text as on a desktop. So that's why, if I go back to my example, you'll notice that here we collected over 100,000 new subscribers, now tipped over 208,000, collected well over 15,000, over 10,000. Like, I make sure that the number is actually in there pretty early on in the sentence, to make sure that that number is still visible on a mobile device. Now, it doesn't have to mean that you have to put in statistics or a number like that. That doesn't have to be the case at all. But in my case, in this particular case, in order to communicate the value that my customers have been receiving from UpViral, is to show them how many email addresses someone has actually collected using UpViral. I hope that makes sense. So that's really what it is, and that's why I love this particular retargeting ad so much, this particular social proof ad, because it's not just that it's converting insanely well for me, but it's also very easy to create, because you don't have to be all fancy and creative. Oh, what should I create? No, you actually let your customers do the hard work. And in case you don't have customers yet, which is totally fine, it's totally possible, you can, for example, just give your product to a friend and say like, hey, what do you think about it? Like, always be honest, always be fair. So you don't wanna say you don't want to fake this, basically. So, but you can still ask people around you, and then instead of saying, hey, here's what our customers are saying, just say something like, hey, here's what others are saying about this, right? And that's still fine. It is social proof. And yeah, I'd highly recommend you to work on this and to think about this, how you could set this up, because later on, as we get into the retargeting side of things, this ad is going to be incredibly powerful and incredibly important as